Elementor is an amazing tool and I have many videos where I use it to build beautiful, simple websites. But what if you want to make something that's completely unique? Like an image where you can slide the center to reveal a before and after result. Or maybe you want a carousel of images with an original design. A super cool gallery of photos that go full screen on mouse over. Some really unique cards with amazing hover effects. Or a split up image that binds back together. Well, normally you're not gonna be able to make any of this because you're gonna be limited by the widgets that Elementor comes with. But now that we have ChatGPT, learning how to make your own Elementor widget has just become much easier. And there are hundreds and hundreds of unique widgets that you could make. I'm only showing you a few examples. What's more, you will have full control over how your widget looks and what it does. So in this video, I will show you exactly how I've built my own Elementor widget from scratch with the help of ChatGPT. And I will show you every step of the process so that you can build your own widgets yourself. Also, we won't be using any coding software, just a simple text editor and a testing site that anyone can set up in only a few clicks. This way, you'll be able to follow along even if you've never done anything like this before. So first, what are we going to build? I was looking for ideas and I found this really unique about page. When we mouse over the team members' photos, we get a short and funny GIF with some more info. I thought this was a super fun way to build an about page, and a widget like this could also be used in other cool ways. For example, we could have some product photos on our site, and when we mouse over them we get this 360-degree view of the product. But none of the basic Elementor widgets can achieve this effect. Instead, we will build our own widget. So to start, we can go to InstaWP by visiting this link, and we can quickly set up a testing site just like this in only a few clicks. InstaWP is completely free if you don't need their premium features, and it's super useful for testing all of your design and coding work. Then I like to install a plugin called Starter Templates and then import any of the designs from their library of templates. So just like that, we have an Elementor website and everything that we need already installed. I highly recommend that you set this up as well because you can cause critical errors if you do this on an actual live website. So with our testing site ready, the first thing that we need is a starting point for our widget. And for me, ChatGPT was just unreliable at this part. I've tried several times to straight up ask it for an Elementor widget, but it would often give me bad code that would crash my testing site. And this is exactly why I recommended that you use InstaWP while testing your widget. Eventually, the bot gave me the correct answer, but I don't want you to run into the same problem. So I'll just give you my clean starting code that works, and you can download it from the description below. You will find this zip archive and you can use it every time when you want to start making a new Elementor widget. All you need to do is install it into your testing site just like this. And now we have our new plugin installed right here. From now on, to keep it simple, we can edit our plugin using the plugin file editor. Just go to the top right, choose our new plugin and then click select. And you'll see two different files that make up our new plugin. I will explain every bit of code here, but for now let me show you what this starter plugin does. We can edit any page with Elementor and you will see a new widget at the bottom of your list. If we drag it into our page, it simply displays this hello world text. That's all that it does for now, so it's a super basic widget that we can start from. So let's understand how the code makes this happen. First, we have this plugin.php file. This one has the code for our plugin itself. So up here we can change the name of the plugin and the name of the author, for example. We can update our changes, then we can go back to our plugins and you'll see that the updated information now shows up in here. After that we have a small bit of code that simply links our other widget.php file, and it also registers our new widget with Elementor. So let's click our other file, and this one has all of the code for our custom Elementor widget. First, we have 4 functions for the widget's name, title, icon, and category. So for example, I can change the title to WP Maker image right here, and it's also good practice to update the name to WP Maker image like so. And this namespace as well, again maintaining the same format without using any spaces. Next, we have the icon for our widget, and we can copy this text and let's search it up on Google. You will find this GitHub page with a list of available icons. You can choose from any of these, so I'll just Ctrl F and I will look for all image icons. And I think this one with the cursor mousing over the image is the perfect one for our widget. So I can just copy this over and I will insert it inside my code. Then for the category, you can say which category of widgets you want yours to be in. I will put in basic so that my widget shows up in the first category. Now we can save our new code and then refresh Elementor to see our changes. So this is the basic category and our widget is right here. Its name is WP Maker Image and it has our chosen icon. Perfect. Now let's get back to our code and we have two more functions for our widget. This register controls function will have all of the settings that the user can see in the Elementor sidebar. Then this render function controls what our widget actually displays. And right now it simply displays this hello world text. But instead of this text, I will want it to first display an image. We can first think logically about what we're trying to make, and then we can ask ChatGPT for help on how to build it. So I've started with a really basic question. Write me some HTML code to insert an image. It gave me the code and we can copy it. Now the best way to start building our widget is to first go to codepen.io. This website will allow us to easily test our code before we insert it into Elementor. So I can paste in my image code inside this HTML box, and I can also remove this image description to keep it simple. Next, we'll need to add a link to an actual existing image. So you can just go to pixabay.com and click any image that you like. Then open it in a new tab and copy the link to insert it inside your code. And down here we get an instant preview of our work so far. We just have our simple image inserted into our page. Then I went back to ChatGPT and I've asked it for some JavaScript code. When I click my image, I want to show and play a video instead. So ChatGPT wrote me this JavaScript function called showVideo. And it advised me to add this listener so that when I click the image, it will execute the showVideo function that it wrote above. But we don't have a video yet, so I've asked it to write the video element with the ID myVideo. And in response, it gave me the HTML code to insert the video. Alright, so we can copy the video and insert it into our HTML code. And we can change this video link just like we did with our image. I've simply uploaded a short MP4 video to my testing site, and then I've copied the link inside here. Then we will go back to ChatGPT and we will also copy both bits of JavaScript code into our JavaScript box. In this code, we can see that for our video, we are looking for the element that has the ID myVideo. And for our HTML, we can see that our video already has the correct ID. And when it's looking for our image, it's going to be looking for the element with the ID myImage. So for this reason, inside our image, we will need to add the correct ID. So now we have an image with the ID myImage and a video with the ID myVideo. And these two IDs are the same that we use in our JavaScript code. So now we can click our image and it works. We see that our video starts playing instead. But when I click the video, I want to return back to showing my image. So I've told ChatGPT that when I click the video, I want to hide it and display the image again. It gave me this hide video function as well as another event listener. So we can copy them over into CodePen inside our JavaScript box, just like before. And now we can click our image, then click the video and it will switch between the two. Perfect. Next up, I asked how can I keep my image and video the same aspect ratio. And it advised me to use this object fit cover inside my CSS and to wrap my HTML code into a div with the ID myDiv. So let's do that. First, inside our HTML, we can write the opening div tag at the beginning with the ID as myDiv, just like this. Then add the closing div tag at the end and copy over the CSS code into our CSS box. We can see the size of our image update, and now when we click it, the video stays the same size. Next, it was time to add our overlaid text on top of our video at the bottom. We also don't want to show this text if the video itself is hidden. And it advised us a couple of things. First, we should copy this overlay div and insert it into our HTML code. Now we can see this text below our image. After that, ChatGPT gave us this CSS code inside these two style tags. We already have the position relative for our video, so we just need the CSS for my overlay, and we can copy it over inside our code. Then we have some more CSS for the text itself, so we can copy that over as well. This is for the actual text, which is inside these h3 tags. So now our text is hidden and it doesn't show up when we click our image. So I've asked ChatGPT to adjust the show video function to also show our H3 text. And I've also asked for an updated hide video function to hide the text when the video gets hidden. So we can copy over the updated functions and we can insert them inside our code. And with that, our text overlay is now working exactly the way we want. So we are almost ready to port this over into Elementor. But before we do that, this is a good time to make any final adjustments. For example, I think our whole widget will look better if we make the corners more round. So for my div, we can give it a border, let's say 5 pixels solid red, and a border radius of 25 pixels, which will make it round. But our image flows out of the border right now, so we'll need to add overflow hidden like this. Now we can remove the border and we are left with our rounded corners, which look great. Finally, I can go to ChatGPT and tell it I want to show the video when we hover our mouse over it instead of when we click it. And it tells me that we can use these two event listeners instead, mouse enter and mouse leave. So we can update the two event listeners inside our JavaScript code. Also, now that we have our new div, we can replace my image and my video with my div instead. We can test out the final code by hovering our image and it works beautifully. So we are ready to copy this over inside our widget. First, let's copy the HTML code and then go back to our plugin on the InstaWP testing site. We can just remove the hello world code and instead we will add a closing PHP tag like this. This lets PHP know that we are about to insert HTML code. And we can paste in our HTML and then add an opening PHP tag like this. This tag will let PHP know that we are finished inserting HTML code. Next up, the easiest way to insert our CSS into our widget is to put it in between style tags like this. And for our JavaScript code, we will need script tags like this. So back in CodePen, we can copy over our CSS code and paste it inside our style tags. Then do the same and copy over the JavaScript code and paste it inside our script tags. Now we can update our plugin and let's test it out. We can drag in our custom widget and we get a similar result as on CodePen. But we have a small conflict that we'll need to fix, because our text here is green instead of white. And we also have some weird margin at the bottom of it. So back to our CSS code, I will set the color of our H3 text to white. And we can also set the margin bottom to 0. Save our plugin and then refresh Elementor. Then we can test our widget and everything looks great. Our text is white and we got rid of that weird margin. Now it's time to make our widget dynamic. So instead of it always showing the same image like it is now, we will add some settings to it and we'll make it display different things based on those settings. So for my widget, I want to add a control for an image option. And ChatGPT told me that I can use this code inside my register controls to add an image setting in the widget sidebar. Then in the render function, I can also use this code to retrieve the URL for my image. So let's take the first bit of code and then copy it inside our register controls. Update our plugin and then we can refresh Elementor. As you can see, we now have the setting for our image in the sidebar. And I can select any image from my library. But it doesn't have any effect on my widget yet. Because to actually implement this image, we will need to use this render code like ChatGPT told us. So let's copy over this image URL code inside our render function. Then for my image, instead of this static URL, we can insert the image URL that we retrieved here. So we can just put in image URL, but we will need to wrap it inside PHP tags like this. And because this is PHP code, we will need to use the echo function as well. With this done, we can refresh Elementor and you'll see that our widget will now use the selected image. We can also select any other image and it updates instantly. Sweet. And let's do the same for our video. I told ChatGPT that I also want to add a control for a video option. Just like before, it gave me the register controls code and I can copy it over. It also gave me the code for my render function and I will copy that over as well. Now for my video, we can copy the same thing that we did for my image, but instead of this image URL, we will have the video URL. Update the plugin and let's test it out. So now I have my video field, but unfortunately there's a problem. I can't see my uploaded videos when I click it. I had to research this problem for a while because I couldn't figure out what was wrong. The official documentation from Elementor is really not much documentation at all, because it only covers the very basics. So I decided to search the Elementor codebase instead, and if you ever run into a problem like this, I recommend that you do the same. So for our example, we can Google GitHub Elementor video widget code. And here we can find the original code for Elementor's main video widget. We can see how they wrote their own register controls function to look for clues. In here we can see that if you try to insert a video from a hosted URL just like we want to, they have this media type video. But in our code, ChatGPT told us to use MIME type instead of video type. This is probably because ChatGPT is outdated and it was only trained with data up to the year 2021. So let's remove this MIME type and we will put in the media type field just like Elementor uses in their own video widget. Update the plugin and then refresh Elementor, and now we can select the video that we want. And we can test that everything works correctly. Perfect. Next, I want to make this overlaid text optional, and I also want to allow the user of the widget to write whatever text they want. So I told ChatGPT to add a text control to my widget. It gave me the code, but it made it into a small text field, so I told it to make it a text area instead. Then I've copied this code over just like before, and I've adjusted the text inside my h3 tags, again using the PHP echo function. Again we can test this code and it works perfectly. Now we can write anything that we want in here. But I want to be able to not have any text as well. So I said that I want a checkmark for "Do you want to add any overlay text?" and only show the text area if this option is enabled. It started writing the code, but then it stopped mid-sentence. If this happens to you, just write continue and it will give you the rest of the response. So then we can copy the 2 bits of code just like before. And it also told us that we can use this if statement to check if the box is enabled. So we can copy over this code and only display our h3 text if the option is enabled. Now let's save this and let's see the result. By default we have no text, but if we enable it, then we can start writing anything in here and it updates inside our widget. Perfect! From here on out, you can follow this same process to make other parts of your code dynamic. For example, I went back and I've asked ChatGPT to make me a slider control for my width, with values between 50 and 1200 pixels. It gave me the code and I used it to make sliders for my height and for my width. I've also used this same code to make a slider for my border radius. And to keep your settings clean, you can use this start control section code to create a separate section within your settings. And I'll just name my new section size and shape. And don't forget to also copy this end control section code at the end of your new section. So here's what this did. We now have 2 different tabs over here, and the first one has our initial settings. Then we can also open up our size and shape settings, and here we have our width, height and radius. We can use them to change the size of our image and also the shape. For example, we can have a small and perfectly square image. Or we can make our image bigger and make it perfectly round. Or we can have a rectangle with slightly rounded corners. And of course, if we want, we can also add any text on top of our video. So as you can see, you can add endless customization to your widget by creating new settings just like this. And I think our result so far is awesome. But we have a problem. Because of the way that we implemented our code, we can't insert more than one of our widget on the same page. If we do that, the widget becomes bugged and no longer shows our video. It will only work for one of the widgets. To fix this, we will need to assign a unique ID to each one of our elements. This way, if we ever have the same widget twice on the same page, every element can still have a unique ID. And luckily, Elementor has this getData function that will give us a unique ID for each widget. So we can take this unique ID and we're gonna insert it at the end of all our HTML element IDs. To do this, we can use the PHP echo function like we've done before. Now we can copy and paste this and we will insert it inside every ID to make it unique. First inside our HTML code, then insert it inside our CSS code, and finally inside our JavaScript code. So now all of our IDs are completely unique for each widget that we're gonna use on one page. And we can save our code to test it out. So now we have our 3 widgets. We can change the image, video and settings of each one, and these settings will only apply to the specific widget that we have selected. Perfect, so now we're finished and we are ready to save this code as our final plugin. Just make a new folder somewhere and name it the way you want to name your plugin. For me, I will make it WP Maker Widget. Inside, create a text file and give it the exact same name as your folder, and give it the extension .php. And also create a widget.php file. Inside these two files, copy the respective code from inside your plugin file editor. Turn this folder into a zip archive. And now this is your final plugin. You can take it and you can install it on any Elementor website to add your new custom widget. You can also install it on client websites, you can sell it, or you can do whatever you want with it. Personally, I've used this widget to build a super cool page for a flower shop. We've got these beautiful photos that become 360-degree videos on mouseover. We can also drag them around anywhere we want, just like with any other Elementor widget. Really cool! So I hope that this inspired you to try and make your own widget. You're gonna find everything that you need in the description below. And if you make something cool, please send it over to me. I would love to see it and perhaps even share it here on the channel. Now you can watch this video next to learn how to make another awesome plugin. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that will level up your WordPress skills for 2023 and beyond. Because we're gonna be using AI for all sorts of things going forward, both in coding and in design. And we will have videos ready to keep you up to date with all of it. So go hit subscribe and I will see you in the next one.